Football Club. Nor will it ever be.
Oh, what a mark!
What's he done? He couldn't have. He shouldn't have, but he has.
McKernan probably would be favourite at this stage for the Brownlow medal.
I declare James Hird and Michael Voss the joint winners of the 1996 Brownlow medal.
Hello everybody and welcome to a Talking Footy special. That was the season that was for 1996. Malcolm Blight and Mike Sheahan with me on this grand final eve. Welcome gentlemen. A different night for us in the old chair and the couch, but the most exciting night of the year, the night before the big one.
Yeah, it certainly is, Bruce, and welcome, Mike. And are you getting overtime too?
No, labour of love, Malcolm, for me.
This fantastic cup sitting alongside of me. Gold this year because of the Centenary season.
I couldn't believe that, Bruce. Someone said it was a gold cup, and all I can remember was silver ones. But of course, as you said, the centenary year.
Must be a great thrill to sort of raise that to the sky, is it? Have you ever done that?
Yeah. Well, no, not as a
captain.
No,
yeah.
But certainly in the lap of honour.
Yeah.
Certainly touched it.
What about the teams? Sydney, no changes. There's been stability, hasn't there, all the way through their final series?
Yes, and of course Dunkley will take his place. Roos has been good at centre half back. Kelly and Lockett are obvious, and Stafford, the big fella, Mike's been a big improver.
He has, and I think that two of those four hold the keys to it in my mind, Stafford and Dunkley. If they can negate or sort of minimise the damage that McKernan and Carey can cause, I think they're in with a real chance, actually.
There were a lot of sore spots last week. O'Loughlin looked sore, Mooney looked sore. Remember what happened to Essendon, what a physical game it was. I wonder if there will be a couple going in.
Actually, I thought that first 20 minutes of the second quarter last week against Essendon, Swans played, was the toughest quarter I've seen for a long while.
It was frantic for most of the night, wasn't it? But they did have the week's rest before that. I think there's no excuses now. They've both had the week's rest and they're both coming off wins, so I think they start square on that front. No
worries about McKernan, and Anderson comes in for Armstrong for North Melbourne.
Yes, and what a great team this is turning out to be. Stevens on baller, I think, might get Kelly. I think that also Scott will probably get Creswell. They've played a bit defensively on those midfielders, and Rock, perhaps someone like Garlick. So
I want to ask you, Malcolm, what happens if Garlick goes to Stevens?
They'll play 2-on-1, and from then on in, it's up to the coach with the hardest nerve or the nerve on the day. And usually that's the scoreboard will tell you whether you keep running 2 with 1 or you back off.
So what happens to the free bloke in that situation?
He tries to get the footy.
Does he? Yeah. So he's not caught between the ball and whether he's sort of got this bloke?
You try and get that one away. Yeah.
Well, Sydney won an injunction on Thursday to have Andrew Dunkley's tribunal heard next Tuesday. This is the Viewcast division, Optus Vision. It came to light on Tuesday of this week at about 6 o'clock, I think, during the early evening, and caused the investigation to change its tack. What effect do you reckon this has had on the two teams?
Well, we won't know until we see how Dunkley performs on Saturday. I think that there was an instant buzz in Sydney tonight, apparently, when the news came through that on Thursday night that he was cleared to play. It troubles me a bit that we have sort of half of football is now being played sort of off the ground, and we've spent 4 days of grand final week in court, actually.
Nick, sorry interrupting. I'd love to see. That's, I believe, where the hit was. It just goes out of camera. Dunkley tries to spoil, and if you just see that shadow on Hurd's face there, and as he comes to ground, you'll see Dunkley hand. I've seen this a few times. His hand's actually open. It's just a reflex arm swinging. It does hit him in the face. There's no doubt about that. But his hand's open, as you'll see.
Yeah.
It now goes into a fist. I honestly think Hurd's obviously copped the nick on the chin, but to me, I don't think the bloke should have been cited.
Yeah, well,
on that evidence there.
Look, it is confusing to watch that, but I think the problem was once he was cited, that it should have been disposed of quicker than it has been.
Well, Ian Collins, in response to that, Mike, had this to say, and there could be a change in policy.
It's obvious that in the future, if we're going to charge players, they're going to have to be charged early in the week, and if not, and there requires further investigation of matters that may come to our attention, then they may have to be considered to be held over the following week. But it does cause some interesting precedents in that area. But, it has happened before, and I suppose nothing surprises you in football.
I don't like the sound of that, Bruce. I mean, I think if an incident happens in one round of matches, it must be disposed of before we play the next round of matches.
You'd think we had the capability of doing that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, in rugby league, as I understand it, all matters of similar nature are disposed of on the Monday.
Yeah, well, I think everybody agrees with you there. I mean, it's just gone on and on this week, hasn't it? And has taken a lot away. There will be an extra edge tomorrow when Dunkley lines up on Carey for the start of the game, particularly Sydney's response a little earlier in the week when they thought they were in real sorts of trouble. What about their finals form? They've beaten Hawthorn and Essendon. They've had the advantage of being at home. They've got a week's break. They've got home in the last seconds on both occasions.
Yes, playing 8th and 6th, and the thing that I thought of during the week is that if this was the Eagles now coming across for the grand final, and they've done that a couple of times, that I think they'd be closer to favourite than probably what the Swans are.
That's true. There is a Lockett factor, though, that we haven't... I mean, they didn't have Lockett in the Hawthorn game, and he kicked only one goal in the Essendon game. Admittedly, his value was much greater than the bloke who's kicked one goal, but I think that if he's recovered, if he's got through last weekend okay, he could kick 5 or 6 and that puts a different complexion on it.
And, of course, Darren Creswell bobbing up in both those games.
Such a similarity about the styles of those two finals, Hawthorn and Essendon. It's just whether Sydney can keep North to that type of game. They've
been a great defensive side, and I think in playing that side, if Carey and McKernan do start marking, they're going to be in trouble with that.
They are, and North has this uncanny ability to kick goals in a hurry, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Sydney haven't convinced us yet that they can kick a lot of goals, but this mob can.
Yes, they can, and they're the most experienced side. They've they've a lot of veterans, a lot of 100, 150 game players, and of course they have those other players. I mean, Scholl's a good player. I mean, Freeborn, I kind of liked him last week.
Look, it's fallen perfectly for them, hasn't it? I mean, their program has been perfect. You couldn't have trained them to the minute better than this, because they've had their 2 home finals here, the week's rest, and a virtually injury-free list.
Yes, and Allison, of course, with those 7 goals against Geelong.
And remember, Anthony Stevens didn't play in the finals last year.
No, he was a big loss to them, wasn't he?
He was.
And they did win 2 finals last year, North. They've won 1 in 94, 2 in 95. They need to win 3 to win a grand final in 96.
MCG a factor at all? They've had such a run there this year, North.
I think it does suit North, I would suggest, more than the Swans.
I saw Sydney played Melbourne and Essendon. I saw both those games at the MCG. Certainly handled Melbourne. Melbourne weren't going all that flash at the time, but they were pretty good against Essendon.
What about the round 11 clash? Can we get anything out of that where Sydney was so impressive and blew North out of the water?
No, round 11's just too far away. If you lined up the sides, I haven't certainly done it on paper, you'll find there'll be a few changes, and a side getting a run on could happen again in the grand final too, I understand that, but I wouldn't take much about it at an Optus Oval game.
I agree with that. The only thing was that Lockett had a big one that day. Mickey Martin's been in fantastic form, confident, running out of the back line, but Lockett shook his confidence that day at Optus Oval, and I think kicked 10 and certainly took him apart in the second half.
Well, it's been a great build-up on Grand Final Eve with the parade and the big press conference. Let's take a look at the highlights of what's happened on the day before the big one.
Grand Final Day -1, and Footscray was breathing a huge sigh of relief. Young champ Chris Grant will stay a Bulldog, having knocked back a huge offer from Port Adelaide.
We sat down over the last couple of days and put all the cards out on the table, and what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks is just getting all the facts we possibly could. We've done that, and I've come up with the decision to stay, and I'm pretty happy about that too.
The Swans hit town this morning. They flew into Tullamarine. Such was the traffic tangle that the police were called in to escort them into Melbourne. The annual Grand Final motorcade was a first for both teams. The Brownlow medalists, Voss and Hurd, leading the parade. The hottest item on the agenda, autographs from the superstars, Kelly and Lockett. Huge crowds packed Collins Street as the teams wended their way to Treasury Place. For the team leaders, time to meet the press. And the big discussion point, the eligibility of Swan Andrew Dunkley.
Yeah, that was obviously a bit distracting early on in the week, but I mean, those things happen. I mean, you work your best to get around those things. But as I said before, the players that I just talking to a few yesterday, they just seem to be able to put that in perspective. He had more influence on Andrew than anyone else, and he's an incredible young man, and he's coped with it very well. And when the news came through last night, I think it's a bit of a confidence boost for us.
Yeah, I've never changed my focus. I knew that he'd be playing in the grand final, and that's the way it worked out.
What a great city to be on grand final eve. Really buzzing Melbourne town, North Melbourne and the Sydney Swans.
It was called the Lightning Premiership. How appropriate, because the second weekend of February at Waverley was one of the wettest, windiest and most miserable for years. With 15 matches scheduled over 3 days, all 16 teams taking part, and experimental rules designed to speed up the action, the Lightning Premiership seemed doomed before it began. There were 3-point scores, free kicks for out of bounds, extra time, and 11 umpires. Out of the mire came a genuine star. Essendon's Shea Cockatoo Collins was the player of the weekend. He helped the Bombers to the first trophy of the Centenary season with a 17-point win over Brisbane. While the Lightning Premiership may be quickly forgotten by many, it was a prelude to an Ansett Australia Cup series of quality. 26,182 saw Adelaide in stunning form open the series with a 10-goal win over Melbourne at Football Park. Stewie Lowe kicked 8 as the Saints thrashed Hawthorn. Grand final sensation Brad Pearce continued his form for the Blues, booting 7 against Essendon. And 18,000 saw Brisbane upset 1995 grand finalists Geelong at the Gabba. In the quarterfinals, St Kilda's Stewie Lowe kicked 7 more to give Adelaide its first Ansett Australia Cup loss at Football Park. The Eagles attracted only 3,000 as they beat Footscray. North, with 5 goals from Brett Allison, overran Brisbane at the Gabba. And Carlton beat traditional rivals Collingwood, 33,000 at Waverley. St Kilda found itself in its first grand final since 1966, after disposing of the Eagles in one semi-final. Carlton threw in the other, its defence holding North to 5 goals. It had been a long wait for the Saints, some 30 years in fact, and traffic snarls just added to the pre-game tension as 66,000 packed into Waverley. Carlton looking for a night premiership to go with its 1995 day flag. St Kilda just praying to add to a sparse trophy cabinet. 6 goals in the first term had the Saints crowd alight. Stewie Lowe would kick 6 for the night. By three-quarter time, the Saints led by 9 goals. The unthinkable, the unbelievable was actually happening. Nicky Winmar would receive the Michael Tuck Medal. The Saints were more than happy with the cup.
Seems a long time ago.
It does, doesn't it? No Lightning Premiership next year, and if someone told you the Saints would, play no role in the finals and Carlton wouldn't win a final after that, you would have probably pinched yourself and said, no, that double's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think most clubs are pretty keen that the Lightning Carnival will go too.
Malcolm, in your Adelaide role as coach, what's your attitude going to be to the Ansett Cup next year? Will you try to have a look at everyone, or will you think that the winning culture is important enough to put your best team on the park every time you play?
No, I'd say that to try and get the system right early and put your best team on to try and win it. Absolutely, no doubt.
So it has grown to be an important event, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think each club's in a different position, but I think that at Adelaide they really need to win something.
Mm-hmm.
What about a quick comment on the Blues? We're going to go through each of the teams tonight that are not in the grand final. Carlton, did they surprise you by their demise this year?
Well, I must admit, I wrote early in the season about that you thought those ageing legs might catch up in the second half of the year, and probably injury caught up first, and then perhaps the legs second.
What surprised me was I thought that they'd got through the critical period for the premiership hangover. I mean, they were 10-2 at one stage and then fell in a heap. But I think there were a lot of contributing factors to that. I mean, looking down the list here, the names of Brown, Dean, Pearce and Spalding, all critically important players in 1995, all had injury-interrupted years. I think they really missed Pearce in the final analysis because Kernahan was the only player there that could kick a goal for them.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the highs and lows for the team that went top in 1995, losing just 2 games, and this year really played no major role at all in the finals.
The power team of 1995 started this season as it had finished the last, winning. Carlton won its first 2 games to take its unbeaten run to 18 straight, before Freo had an upset win in Perth. Still, that appeared only a hiccup, but the Blues continued on, winning 6 of the first 7 rounds. Tough wins over the Eagles, the Tigers, the Bears and the Magpies kept the Blues online for a top 4 finish, if not top spot.
Takes the hand pass from Wells, and Brent Heaver has kicked the goal. It could be the match-winning goal.
Anthony Koutafidis was a standout early in the season, never more so than against the Eagles in round 5, when he had 18 marks and 26 kicks, while Stephen Silvani was his usual effective battling self at full back. By mid-season, cracks were starting to appear in the formidable Blues armour. Justin Madden found himself in the reserves, and Greg Williams was struggling, a dicky knee erasing him from David Parkin's finals plans. Earl Spalding went missing with injury, and the solid as a rock backline of 1995 began to appear fragile as injuries and suspensions hit hard. North Melbourne hammered the Blues in round 14, and then Hawthorn blitzed them in round 16 to underline the fears of Carlton fans.
Silvani on the run, Camporelli to Bradley. Look at Carlton attacking now. Bradley to Kernahan. This is from a kickoff. Wide to Diolio, and Diolio can go to Bradley. He's got to get rid of it quickly. Oh, brilliantly done. Brown to Diolio. If this is a goal, it'll be fantastic. He might have drilled. Wonderful footy.
A solid win over Geelong in round 22 had Carlton back on track, but only for a week. In the qualifying final, West Coast thrashed the Blues by 10 goals in Perth for the second time in a month. And then Brisbane finished Carlton's season in humiliating fashion, sailing home by almost 100 points. The post-mortem was always going to be ugly. With several stars, including Greg Williams, Craig Bradley, Stephen Kernahan, Barry Mitchell and Justin Madden well on the wrong side of 30, and other Blues underachieving, it's likely to be a turbulent summer at Optus Oval. It looks like it's time to rebuild.
David Parkin still there. Interesting times at Carlton. Fitzroy just 1 win. Michael Noonan didn't last the season out.
Miserable year, wasn't it? I mean, I think in the finish, in everyone's mind, it was good that they were out of their misery, actually. And, I mean, there was a very touching farewell in Fremantle, which I thought was appropriate, even though they couldn't get to play their last game in Melbourne. Probably pluses. I think Matthew Primus is obviously a good player. And Martin Pike isn't told to be pretty happy with his year, I think.
Well, after 8 premierships over 100 years and producing some of the greats of the game, this was their final season.
It was a death by 1,000 cuts. Old Fitzroy, struggling for so long, finally rolled over and died in 1996. Although the official story is that the Lions had simply headed north. Officially, the club has merged with Brisbane, so that a new side, the Brisbane Lions, will take the field in 1997. Fitzroy captain Brad Boyd has signed to head north and will be joined by at least 7 of his former teammates. The new side starts with mountains of money and an imposing player list. The future looks rosy, but the road has been hard. Led by new coach Michael Noonan, the Lions were playing with a new game plan and a sense of purpose as they approached the Ansett Cup. While Noonan rued that his team's skill level was too low to carry out the game plan, there were signs that at last Fitzroy had on-field objectives. But the first few rounds of the season, Fitzroy was beaten but not disgraced. It was clear they had unearthed some good recruits, particularly Scott Bamford, Matthew Primus in the ruck and Nick Carter, while Brad Boyd and Chris Johnston were among the established hands playing well.
Oh, look at the mark by Johnson!
But as losses mounted, confidence slipped away. In round 4, the Roys were hammered by the Saints and the floodgates opened, heavy losses following from Brisbane, Richmond and Carlton. But then came a victory, and there was no mistake about it, with Anthony Mellington providing a target with 6 goals at full forward. And the beleaguered Lions fans lapped up every second. The Roys pounded Fremantle at the Western Oval in round 8, the team's first win in 364 days.
They had spilled out onto this ground in a show of emotion that has certainly been building up for 12 months.
But the taste of success was fleeting. The following weekend saw North Melbourne defeat the Lions by 105 points, and they were off the pace for the rest of the season. Their only glimmer of an upset victory came against the West Coast Eagles in round 15. The Lions were competitive up until the last quarter, when an astonishing piece of umpiring in front of goals saw Jared Malloy penalised for punching the ball away after a Peter Sumich point. West Coast was handed another shot in the goal square and the game was over.
That's not very good.
That moment symbolised everything about Fitzroy's luck, or lack of it, on and off the field. Noonan became so desperate he tried to lift his players by threatening fines for on-field non-performances. Off the ground, the vultures were circling, as they had since February. When the league asked Fitzroy to prove its solvency to trade, the pressure never let up. By the time the club held its annual general meeting, the Australian Securities Commission and the Australian Taxation Office were lurking. Creditors were mumbling, players' payments were in doubt. President Dyson Hall-Lacey admitted to a loss of $250,000 for 1995. It was a fiery, angry meeting, which ended with mergers clearly not out of the question. It turned out the Lion officials were already talking to North Melbourne, but the process was too slow. As the two clubs debated naming rights and Guernsey designs, they had no idea things were about to get really ugly. The Pacific island of Nauru, which had saved the Lions with a financial injection the year before, sent Administrator Michael Brennan in pursuit of its money. Overnight, Fitzroy was on the brink of collapse. The AFL Commission met until long into the night before deciding to give the club the rest of the week to confirm its merger with North. Michael Noonan and the players met with Brennan to hear the likelihood of their being paid. North wondered if there was a Fitzroy to merge with. It came to a head on Thursday, July 4, when the other clubs decided not to give North Melbourne the hefty player concessions it wanted if it was to merge with the Lions. North declared the merger was off. Out of nowhere, Brisbane, a long-time suitor for Fitzroy's hand, came from nowhere, offering to agree to the other club's conditions. The deal was done. Before North Melbourne officials could blink, the Brisbane Lions had been born. Naturally, none of this was helping the players concentrate out on the field. Fitzroy was walloped by every team. Players now just trying to impress the Brisbane recruiting staff. Noonan resigned, saying he was no longer coaching Fitzroy. And in ugly scenes, a game against Brisbane at the Whitten Oval in round 20 saw angry Lions fans take it out on their players. A week later, when the Royals played Richmond in their last game ever in Melbourne, the emotion was overwhelming. The Lions had a cavalcade of past champions, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Apart from among the ruthless Tigers who blitzed the Royals by a record 151-point margin. In round 22, Fitzroy lost to Fremantle in Perth, and the Dockers played Auld Lang Syne.
For the days of old lang syne.
It was the end, or a new beginning, depending on your point of view.
Suffering an intolerable situation there, Fitzroy. A number of their top players now going to Brisbane, and the Lions living on as a name with the Brisbane Lions next year. We're going to look at some of the very best finishes right after this break in the season that was 1996.
Monday's experts. Well, I see them up the shops, I see them down the street.
It was a must-win for both struggling clubs. Footscray had led by 21 points in the last term. Hawthorn wouldn't surrender.
1 point and the ball is about 85 to 90 metres from the Hawthorn goal. A very important ruck contest. Hawks get it. Richard Taylor in towards centre-half forward. What can Dunstall do? He can manufacture a goal. In goes Pritchard and he misses. The score's a level in the dying seconds of the game at the Whitten Oval. And ladies and gentlemen, this is unbelievable stuff. The Hawks and the Bullies are going to play the first draw for season 1996.
Richmond had one shot at beating the unexpectedly tough Swans.
Dale couldn't take it. Here's a chance for Tawney. He shrugs the tackle, he gives it to Bond. Bond for goal! Yes!
Oh, hang on, there's a free kick.
Kick on the last line of And the Tiger scarves are going to have to go down.
Richardson's indiscretion was all Sydney needed.
A brave umpire couldn't call something. Down goes Tawney, slapped out to O'Loughlin. O'Loughlin clears the zone. One doubts Richmond have got the time now. The ball is still running. Well played by the big man. Lockett sockers at Goldwood, consuming valuable time, and he goes again. There's the siren. Sydney have won.
Goals were like rare jewels at Optus Oval, but was this fool's gold?
From 60, Williams in from the side, did the hard work, missed the mark. Heaver kept it going, Goldwood off the ground. It's a goal. Williams.
Only the man in the hat thought it was a goal, but it gave the Blues the edge.
Sure. And I think it was off Evans. Yep. An own goal. Madden and Downsborough again. Madden clean possession. Almost dropped it. Flicks it out between his legs. Favours the Eagles. Here's Matera.
Matera had one last throw of the dice.
Sydney gets to its feet. Western Australia's watching this run. Matera to the middle. Alongside the centre circle looking for Gehrig. Bounces off his chest. We're down to 15 seconds. Gehrig has the ball forward at the wing. Unroads long. It needs a mark. It's got a mark.
But Cooter's 18th mark saved the day.
Anthony Koutoufides has been the difference between these two clubs. But he's taken a timely mark, getting in front of ball on the siren. Carlton in a memorable victory.
Only a week after the Sydney heartbreaker, the Tigers found themselves in another nail-biter.
It's at the boundless. The hand pass pulled a tape. Gave it up. Broderick. Correction, Broderick from half-back. It's a fierce end to this game, but Bond. Time clock's ticking away. There's only 25 seconds left. Bond goes wide. Nash has got it. They can grab at the Tigers.
Well, he's got to kick this goal. It'll be the last kick of the match.
You can see the time clock ticking down. We're under 10 seconds. The Tigers lost by a point last week. They can grab this one. They trail by 4 points.
Here's the siren.
Nations kicks on its way. It's going across the face.
He's missed, I think.
He has missed.
Geelong have won it. What a thriller. What an absolute thriller.
The luckless Tigers were beaten again.
One of the great games of the year.
Watch these hands from Plugger. The Swans thought they'd won it.
It's been a terrific battle. The ball is in front of the Swans goal. Lockett away to Crawford. Crawford's kicked it out. The Swans are in front.
Enter James Hurd.
Hit required. The kick to centre half forward. Hurd. What a mark. Came from the side. He's got
A behind would be enough for a draw.
He's going to go torpedo punt. Gets onto it. It's going and going and going, and he misses. It's a behind. It was interesting that centre bounce. Scores are level.
4 goals down at the last change. A slashing last quarter saw the Cats 3 goals up, but Brisbane came again. They were 1 point down, deep in time on.
Has been influential in these dying moments. Floats it inside the 50. Keating was up, offhands a chance for Lappin. There's a man on loose, Ackermanis. Kennedy didn't spot him. He goes for home. High down towards Lepage. 10 seconds to go. Loose ball behind, it's out of bounds. Boundary throw in, down to 7 seconds. Keating thumps it Goldwood, close to the boundary. Forced across. It's level.
It'll be a draw.
It's level.
Freo had taken it up to the Dons all day. Any score would win it.
He starts at left. It's way left. Can anyone take a mark? No, they can't. Sock it up the ground. Jay Cockatoo Collins, I thought.
Hey Shay, a win's a win.
But don't worry, Jay. You've got it behind, and they're in front. What do you think, Don? Have a close look at this.
The Cats had held the Hawks at bay, at least up until the last few minutes.
Geelong lead by 5 points. Chance, it's been kicked off the ground, yes! Woods has kicked it, and Hawthorn are in front.
The Houdini Hawks by 2 points.
That's his second.
Footscray's barnstorming finish almost upended the Pies.
To Cameron.
Good play.
Now Clark. Kicks in board to Hargraves. Can't mark it. Here's a chance for Tyson Lane on the right boot. He'll kick a high ball. That's there. It's a goal.
No.
Footscray.
have got it now. They know it. That's not far enough. That's play on, says the umpire. Krasiska tosses it up high. Wine's under it. He's got it. Scotty Wine will hold the ball. The siren's gone. It's all over.
How are the nerves, Tony?
The Collingwood Army go crazy.
Less than a kick in it. Chris Waterman proved one moment of brilliance can decide a game.
As far as the mark's concerned, look at Waterman's kick. There is a game-winning kick by Chris Waterman at goal.
Watch the Jackets.
The points go to the West Coast, but it has been a terrific game between two magnificent sides, and the Jackets are going. Have a look at this.
Hart's opportunism had the Gabba jumping.
Chance now, Champion gives it to Kennedy. Kennedy normally a long kick. They're inside 50, they need a mark. No one is able to take it. In the front! Lepich, I think it was. Or was it Ackermanis? But they've gone mad. Look, this is the kick. This is what you've got to do. Send it long. Ball, big fly. And there it is, the Hart. Gets it to half forward. That could be far enough. That could be safe for the Brisbane Bears. McIver picks it up. There's the siren.
Freo, the unlucky losers. It looked as though this vital game for the Dons had slipped away when Chris Grant kept a cool head.
Contest, Collingwood. Gee, Wanganeen might have had a bit of it early. Collingwood quickly on. Here's a chance. Grant, you back him from there. Worked underneath it. Watch to Grant. Grant to kick the goal. Foots Gray are in front.
Alessio.
Mark Mercury had other ideas.
50 metres from goal, Mercury. Run on and kick a goal, Mark. Run on and bomb it through. Essendon are back in front. Go, Mark Mercury. 4 goals to Mercury. Essendon have the lead once again. And there's 1.5 minutes left. This has been a game of footy. Grab, didn't have it. Salmon's handball. Back to Crawford. Dunstall. Can't quite gather. Gaspar. Now Dunstall. Tripped up the ball and tripped by Lamprey. Demon fans down here will jump the fence in protest in a minute. Look at this.
It's going to be his.
Here they come down there to watch Dunstall kick his 100th goal again. Dunstall, more importantly, goes for goal and he's got it.
The biggest game of the year for Hawthorn. Firstly, could Dunstall top the ton for a record 6th time?
Performance by the Hawthorn captain.
Nearly caught.
And now a simple equation. Hang Grimley onto a 1-point lead and the Hawks would make the 8.
The numbers now, 22 seconds. Holland takes the mark. Stand there for a week, son. 12 seconds. He doesn't want to take too long. They'll take it off him. 8 seconds. Umpire's telling him to kick it.
They're home.
He better kick it.
They're home.
There's the siren. The Mason in the Hawthorn box. And again in a thriller, Hawthorn have triumphed over Melbourne in a finals atmosphere here at the MCG before 60,000 plus.
That was a great win. A great win.
Such irony in that last one. The Bombers seemed to be involved in plenty of close ones too, didn't they?
They had a very, very competitive season, didn't they, when you look back? And they did lose some closies. And, I mean, at the end of the season, of course, those 2 games difference probably made a hell of a lot.
Yeah, well, I was just going through the footy record. In their last 8 games, 5 of them were decided by 9 points or less.
Losing 2 finals by a point.
Yeah.
Well, they were some of the best finishes. I hope we get another one on the grand final. Wouldn't it be lovely within a kick? We haven't had one.
We're due, aren't we?
1989, and then there was a few years before that. What about Essendon? Fascinating team, aren't they? Interesting. No Wanganeen for next year. Sheedy signed on. Hurd, obviously, at the height of his powers.
Yes, I've always just wondered with Essendon, the last 2 years, I really thought they could have gone, well, they're only a kick away, weren't they? A point away, I suppose. But I've just felt that perhaps those key forwards, you know, they look pretty competent during the midfield. They seem to work that out. They just didn't, and I know that's a Sheedy style, they actually don't find enough blokes to kick goals.
Malcolm, just Wanganeen going home, do you think Victorian clubs are going to go more and more reluctant to draft players from interstate, given the trend of interstate players going back after 3 to 5 years?
No, I don't, Michael, because this is the last franchise given for some time, I'd suggest. And the inflationary effect of what football's had has been these picking up uncontracted players out of, with these new clubs.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll happen from here on in.
Let's have a look at their season, the Bombers, who ended up just missing out, didn't they, in that preliminary final against Sydney.
2 lousy points, or 1 point twice. Whichever way you look at the Bombers' 1996 finals campaign, Kevin Sheedy's team was desperately unlucky. To lose a qualifying final to Brisbane by a point, and then to lose a preliminary final by the same margin, after the siren no less, is heartbreaking stuff. And all just as Essendon, fresh from belting the West Coast Eagles in the semi-finals, must have been starting to genuinely believe the flag was there to be taken. The Bombers had started the season in scratchy form. Round 3 saw Essendon dismantle a dispirited West Coast by 10 goals, only to then be slaughtered a week later by Adelaide to the tune of 96 big ones. In round 5, Essendon was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde all in one day. Leading by 38 points over Collingwood, the Bombers went to sleep and were run over, smarting that the Magpies received 22 more free kicks on the day. But the Essendon roller coaster was more up than down, even if Sheedy did wrestle the now familiar problems of finding a settled, reliable full forward and working out where to play the brilliant, versatile James Hird. In the round 7 reenactment match, the Dons were simply brilliant, led by Darren Buick's comeback 9 goals to down Geelong.
And he's kicked his 8th. Oh, the Buick's on fire.
The wins piled up, with Hird starring in defence, in attack and on the ball, wherever he lined up. He all but won the game off his own boot in round 13 against the Hawks, kicking 6 goals and dominating. Other Bombers were also shining. With Paul Salmon gone, Peter Somerville was enjoying extra responsibility in the ruck, while Mark McCurry showed he'd matured into a reliable goal sneak, and the close-cropped Joe Masiti was back to the smoking form of 1993. A couple of narrow losses late in the season, to Carlton by 9 points and to West Coast by a goal, ended the Bombers' hopes of a top 4 finish. And in the end, only a 3-point win against Footscray in the last round enabled Essendon to grab 7th spot. As in the finals to come, the Dons' fortunes rested on a point here, a point there.
So a pretty good season for the Bombers in the end, and their most notable retiree is a player, Bomber Thompson, one-time captain, 3-time premiership player and twice the best and fairest of the club. A break, back with more right after this.
They finish talking, well, my beers are getting flat. When Monday comes around, Monday's experts will see what I mean.
Once again, welcome back to this Talking Footy special. That was the season that was for 1996. Looking at the teams outside of the grand final, let's take a look at Melbourne.
Neil Baum and his men will be pleased to see the back of 1996. 8 losses in the first 9 rounds, crippled by injuries from start to finish, dogged by merger talk late in the piece. The positives were hard to find, but they were there. Alistair Clarkson was a prize recruit, running hard and strong from the season's opening bounce. Jim Stynes was his usual determined, unshakable self.
His name into the record books, 30-year-old Jimmy Stynes, his 205th consecutive match, beating the 53-year-old record of Richmond's Jack Skiddy Tigers, who played 204 successive matches between 1933 and 43.
Melbourne's best win came on the Queen's birthday Monday, when it dismantled Collingwood in a game the Magpies would have expected to win. David Mead starred that day and was one of the finds of the season at full forward in the continuing absence of Demon skipper Gary Lyon, whose troublesome lower back refuses to respond to all sorts of treatment. Fellow forward Sean Charles also struggled with the wrist injury, which has now dogged him for 2 years. While tragically, David Schwartz's knee caved in yet again during the summer practice. Neil Baum showed nothing, if not a willingness to experiment, as the constant injuries limited his options.
Pretty good. Yes!
As well as throwing Neats to full forward, he sent high-flying Sean Smith to full back, where the number 29 showed the kind of courage, daring and flair in aggressive defence that another Sean, of the white variety, displayed in the late 1980s.
They beat the Blues late in the season too. What about their recruiting? Clarkson, Grant, Ingus and Nettlebeck, Turley.
Yeah, they certainly went for experience and with mixed results, really.
I think they thought they had a better list than they did have, actually. I think they were sort of looking back to '94 when they'd finished in a preliminary final, and we're basing it on that. But the list didn't stand up. They needed sort of... they didn't just need topping up, did they? They needed some fresh blood.
That's true, and of course Schwartz and Lyon were...
And the other thing, their morale was shot before the season started. I mean, I saw that game. I know you don't place a lot of stock on first-round results, but they went into that game against Geelong, look, with their morale fractured. I mean, the sort of Lyon was in trouble, Schwartz had fallen over, Sean Smith had broken his arm, and they took a long time to recover from that.
What about Gary Lyon? Do you know much about it, Mike, what his future is?
Yes, I saw him this morning, Bruce. Look, he's only hopeful. I mean, I don't think he's really optimistic about sort of building 50 or 100 games under what he's got at the moment. And it's a real pity, isn't it? I mean, he should be in his prime, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he's a great player and crippled for just about all of this year. Well, the other club that was linked with Melbourne throughout the season, Hawthorn.
15th in 1995, there were no guarantees that Hawthorn would finish any higher in 1996. The Hawks had recruited the biggest fish from Essendon, with Paul Salmon desperate to prove himself as a four-quarter ruckman, but were generally regarded as one of the strugglers of 96. The early rounds only confirmed the theory. Having struggled from behind to beat Fitzroy in the opening round...
Shot at goal. Oh, gee, that's a gem. Goal of the day. Fantastic goal kicked by Taylor on the run from the boundary line and 4 points.
The Hawks were beaten by Richmond in round 2 and then hammered by North.
Yeah, this could be another one.
Hawthorn finally managed a win over fellow struggler Melbourne in round 8, and September must have seemed like a pipe dream. But suddenly it all began to click for the Hawks. An astonishing comeback from 39 points down against the Crows in round 11 gave the Hawks their 4th straight win, and 6 goals from Nick Holland made it 5 straight against Fitzroy.
Oh, that is perfect.
With Richmond faltering in 8th spot, the Hawks gathered momentum and found themselves in the last round, needing a win over Melbourne and a Tiger loss to make the 8. Both happened. Dunstall kicking his 6th ton along the way, but it only extended the season by a week for the unlucky Hawks.
Telling him to kick it.
They're
home. He better kick it.
They're home.
There's the siren. Ovation in the Hawthorn box. And again in a thriller, Hawthorn have triumphed over Melbourne.
Looking the goods against a locketless Sydney in the qualifying final, Hawthorn fell a goal short. Dunstall carried off with a knee injury. Still, coach Ken Judge impressed, as did Paul Salmon in the ruck, plus Shane Crawford, and classy recruit Craig Treleaven on the ball. The Hawks can look forward to 1997.
What about their ageing list? Condon 30 next year, Dunstall injured, in trouble, Jenke, Kapler, Langford, Platten, Pritchard, Salmon. It's as old as Carlton, isn't it?
Yeah, some of those had pretty good years, though, didn't they? Salmon, of course, and Platten polled very well in the Brownlow. Kapler was very good recruit, really.
Yeah, they did well with them, but they are old. But I think that there's probably, the Swans aside, I don't think any club got more out of their talent than what the Hawthorn guys did.
Well, I agree with that.
Dunstall's future?
Hopefully he can go again, but it's going to be touch and go for him, isn't it?
He does work hard, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, his preparations have been excellent, and I think he will make sure, given that he's 33 and that he's got to be right to play next year. I think you think it's a 12-month injury, don't you? I'm a bit inclined to think he could get back a bit quicker than that.
And the effect of the merger, no merger at the end of the season for both of these clubs. We're talking about Hawthorn and the change in their board, and Melbourne now with Joe Goodner coming in as their president. What effect do you reckon this will have on the fact that there's a lot of footy business to be done in the next few weeks with the draft coming up?
There is. Hawthorn have got bigger problems than Melbourne. I mean, they've got pressing financial problems and an ageing list. They're a better team than Melbourne is at the moment, but I think, and Melbourne's more settled. There's going to be a big changeover at Hawthorn.
Yeah, I'm not certain that, as I mentioned earlier, that the finances necessary that are being proposed futuristically are going to be needed. And I think that if they can steady here, there's no reason why they can't survive. I mean, Richmond went through it, St Kilda have been through it. I think we've got to be careful writing off clubs, as we found out with all this heated stuff during the merger discussions.
And Neil Baum's safe, isn't he? He's got another year to go.
Yes, yep.
And Ken Judge is certainly well placed, isn't he?
Sure.
Even though he came out in favour of a merger, didn't he?
I think both coaches just followed their board's policy, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
And then you'd expect that, wouldn't you?
Well, you would have thought that would have been the case, but I mean, the emotion of the people. Ian Ridley, of course, has survived and now Vice President.
It's a good... I think Melbourne have got out of this very well, actually. They're happy with Joseph Gutner coming in as chairman. Ian Ridley stayed on, and there's been less change there. It looks like it's going to be more traumatic at Glenferrie.
Well, there's been change at Footscray too, and that was a very peaceful one. Let's have a look at their season.
Footscray had staked a great deal on the 1996 season. The club had spent $750,000 on their football operations, with the dream of making it to the finals for the third straight year. It didn't work out that way. From the start of round one, when Brisbane thumped the Dogs to the tune of 87 points, Footscray was in trouble. Round two saw defeat to North by a massive 131 points. And coach Alan Joyce was rumoured to be feeling the heat already. The losses mounted, but there were bright spots for the Bulldogs. Chris Grant had a great season, even by his lofty standards. He played both ends of the ground with flair, power and poise, kicking vital goals at centre-half forward or beating the biggest names in the game at centre-half back. His performance on Wayne Carey in round 10 was a showstopper. He let nothing get in his way, even the umpire.
He's good. Centre-half forward, great effort. The umpire's in strife here. He's been down. Stuart Anderson ran into him, and the umpires aren't good for physical contact.
Other Dogs were working hard as well. Jose Romero was starring in a new role as an aggressive tagger. And Scott Wind finally put injuries behind him to string some games together. Luke Darcy continued to improve, and Liver was Liver, tackling anything that moved. Jason Watts provided a target in front of goal, kicking several bags, including 6 in the team's best win of the year against Adelaide in round 9. While Danny Hargraves also shot up forward, no more so than in round 15 when he booted 5 goals against Freo. One player unfortunately absent from the Footscray goal square was Alan Jakovich, one of the most disappointing recruits of the season. Just to add to the club's woes, Footscray had the dubious honour of recording their 3rd lowest score ever, 3 goals for in round 16. That match and several other scrappy affairs saw rival coaches criticise the state of the Whitten Oval. Footscray has already reacted strongly to its on-field and off-field traumas of 1996. They hope to restore the Bulldogs to their claim as the pride of the Western Suburbs.
Terry Wallace coaching. What about Scott Wine and Tony Liberatore? They're 2 Brownlow medalists.
Yeah, I think Scotty Wine struggled, hasn't he? I mean, he's played some reasonable games. I've just felt watching him that either retires or changes his training program, which is a hard thing to say, but I think that's probably right. He just needs to get that spring back that he had.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's certainly struggled. I think they've tried to nurse him through, but perhaps that's not the way to go. And the other, that problem in the big man department was compounded by Ilya Grigic's failure to go on. I mean, he really hasn't matured like we expected, has he?
No, he hasn't.
Darcy was pretty good. Do you give them much hope, Footscray, in 97?
Well, I think Terry Wallace is, being the new coach now, has at least had a look at them. Perhaps it's a new direction. He's decided on that. And Scott Wine has been, look, without repeating it, has been the key to them. When they've played well, he's been up and running.
Alan Joyce always said that. I think quickly, Bruce, they'll be more stable now. Hopefully Leon Cameron will have a better year than he had this year. He was wrecked this year and he's their ball carrier.
Well, the 2 surprise packers were probably Watts and Romero, who both had terrific years in 96. Smith again good. A break, some of the best goals and marks coming up shortly.
Everyone I made is saying I should have done this or I should have done that. But by the time they finish talking, well, my beers are getting flat.
Just kicks inside the 50. End to end.
front. Kernahan's in the box seat. Shaw will go. We have seen some beauties on this weekend, and that was one of the best. So he's going to have to bomb away in towards centre half back. Oh,
there's a lot more things to football.
There's BNF last year.
There are days when you
the good reasonable, but fading away. Big fly by Abraham. Magnificent.
on the score. Team run out, let me kick it down.
What about
the mighty
What a mark to Johnson! Mark of the day by the length of the Flemington straight. What a ripper!
A little undecided. Now he goes long. Kicks it out to the wing. Terrific leap and mark. Magnificent effort by Krasiska.
Lows the target. And taken an unbelievable mark! Sensational mark! They've got the crowd alive at Football Park. They'll be hard to beat for the mark of the year. McGuinness slowing it down to Connell.
Back against the flow, opposite Shepherd, well done. Edwards towards the wing. Oh, one of the marks of the season. That was terrific by Tengo. Controlled it superbly, and what great courage in the leader.
Quickly swings round onto his right. Kicks inside 50. The high fly.
Oh, thank you, Laurie. Thank you very much.
There was a mistake there by Darren Jarman of the old gold rules. If your man goes, you've got to go with him.
Malcolm, we've already shown 5 of the top ones of the year that the people are voting on throughout this weekend for the mark of the year. Have you got a favourite? I know there's a couple of crows in there, so be careful.
No, actually, I really like David Burke's. I mean, I probably get sick of talking about the height, but I thought his was a great jump. And I must admit, and it's not because of the crows, but Ben Hart's was probably the most spectacular pirouette in the air for the season.
We defer to you on this sort of business.
Yeah, you're the expert, Malcolm. Now, you did get high one day, I know. Let's have a look at some of the best goals of 1996.
So Darryl White. Well, he's the sort of player who could make this look bone easy. Now,
don't tell me.
What did I say? What did I say?
You are unbelievable.
He is unbelievable.
You are the ticket. I mean,
well, he's an extraordinary player, isn't he?
Can Vandy outrun his opposition? No, he can't. Can this guy outrun his opposition? Have a look at Abraham go. Oh, stand up and applaud Winston Abraham.
Over the ball is Carter, keeps it into Johnson. Great handball to McGregor. McGregor can run, he's quick. Wants the player to come at him, trying to set up Hobb. Now he does. Terrific handball back inside to Morton. And McGregor, great running play from Fitzroy. Shoot from 45 metres. The ball swinging back and it's a goal.
Over the top of Barker. This gives Smith the opportunity. Jeff Farmer's with him. Tries to come back inside. Right foot banana. What's he done? He couldn't have. He shouldn't have, but he has.
I see Harvey back on the ground too. They're still in play, this ball.
Yeah, well, here's Harford. Oh, look, he dodges round. Then he boomerangs it in. Brilliant goal, Harford. Tremendous play by this young player.
Goal of the year.
Well, he's got Clark.
Gets it towards centre half forward. Tap on by Cockatoo Collins. Clever on a rim short. It'll give to Cockatoo Collins. Brilliantly done. Accelerates and kicks a magic goal as he...
Cockatoo Collins accelerating for a goal there. What about the top players? I know, Mike, you're coming up with your top 50 next week at the Herald Sun. You do that twice a year. We picked 6 out that had the most influence. Malcolm's.
I'm not telling you, Blighty. You've got to pick them yourself.
Well, I think Wayne Carey will be in the 50. What sort of a year did Carey have? We've picked 6 out that we thought had the most influence on the comp.
Yeah, I thought he probably did start a bit slow for Wayne Carey and finish with a blaze of glory, and he's right at the peak of form at the moment.
He is. Totally concur.
Huge year. Big final series always helps too, doesn't it, when you're looking at top players?
Yeah, and I think we, Mike and I have talked about this, we do sometimes make it a bit harder for these good blokes.
Yep.
And we expect a hell of a lot of them.
Is he the best centre-half forward you've seen, Malcolm?
He is probably there. or certainly in the grand final. And, you know, actually Wolsey was a pretty good centre-half forward in premiership sides, and, yeah, he's right up there with them now.
He's nearly as good as I've seen, any position.
What about this fella, Hurd?
Well, I think we're just amazed at the go-ability. I don't know what else to say. It's a new word in footy, the go-ability of him. I mean, his perpetual motion is the best way to describe him. You know, he's quite a good aerialist. I would like to see him play from behind occasionally, because I know he can jump a bit, but he does have that honest streak in front. And you're a bit critical of his kicking early, Mick, and he came home hard with it, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Kicked them when they had to be kicked.
We're all in love with him, aren't we?
Yeah,
Mike?
we are.
Let's face it.
Well, I don't know about in love with him, but I love the way he plays.
Malcolm, in one word, would you rather have Carey or Hurd if you had to pick one for Adelaide?
Probably Carey for the spot that he plays.
Okay. What about Paul Kelly's year?
Well, Paul Kelly was one of my favourites, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Just the way he played for the Swans. I thought he carried their midfield. He was the hardness and he was the heart. And now generally acknowledged as probably one of the best players.
Plugger?
Yes, a big year. I mean, a 100-goal year with the Swans. I think I've seen him play better, but certainly his service for the club's been fantastic this year.
I think he probably did have a couple of down days, but I mean, that's terrific, isn't it? But he is like Dunstall. He does all the other chasing, give-offs, all that.
He's become like Dunstall.
Yes.
He wasn't at St Kilda, he now is.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you're playing grand finals, if you can get your key forwards doing that.
He's a brilliant handballer, isn't he?
He is, actually, and that's what I love. I just love the way he does that. I really do wish more players would do that. When they're confronted, use their physical strength.
He didn't look like a bloke with a crook groin there, did he?
No.
This was an interesting play, wasn't it? Oh, that was Chapman. That was more than interesting. I was thinking of the one when he came in board of Creswell late in the game. How far was this kick, Mike?
Well, it looks as if it's about 55, Bruce, but my understanding is that the so-called 50-metre arc at Sydney is 44 metres. So I think he's kicked it probably about 50.
50.
Whatever it was, I'm not quite sure about that, whatever it was a great kick.
McKernan in the top 6, what a year he had.
He did, wasn't he? And he was favourite for the Brownlow early in the season. I think we all agree with that. He was probably the dominant player to halfway through the year. The count would indicate that.
Do you think his dominance has helped Carey too, and it has taken a little bit of the spotlight away from Wayne, and he's been able to share it a bit?
Well, yeah, I do, and he's jumping in the ruck, and just what I like is when he takes the mark, he actually hits the ground running. He actually plays on.
He's a magnificent athlete, isn't he? And I think the other thing where he's helped Carey is that when he rucks, he thumps the ball, and it gives the runners a head start, and they get the ball down to Carey so much quicker.
He's a lovely kick too, isn't he?
He is.
Better forward or ruckman, Malcolm?
Ruckman probably.
What about Voss?
Well, I know, Mike, he's one of your very, very favourite players, and I think he's everyone's very, very favourite player. I've never seen a bloke get so low to keep his head over the ball. There has been a lot like that. This kid is the equal of any of those that I've ever seen get low on the ground and never take his eyes off the footy. I saw him fumble once for the year, and I saw them 6 or 7 times.
And the sign of a good player, he's rarely on the ground.
Oh, that's exactly right.
Does the Brownlow give a player certainly extra status, but does it put more pressure on a player in their next season?
I believe it does. I remember Dick Reynolds saying to me after I won mine all those years ago and said, well, what you have to do now is keep on earning it.
Out of those top 6, Mike, I know you're going to list 50. There are a couple of honourable mentions.
I'm happy with those. Yeah, I think Nathan Burke, Michael Sexton, Paul Broderick, Nathan Buckley. I mean, they've all had big years, but I wouldn't quibble with the 6.
Would they be in your top 10, those 10?
I'll tell you next Wednesday.
Who's your number one? Blight, if you had to pick a number one.
A number one on the season gone, I probably, about 2/3 of the way through the season, I went through for McKernan.
Right, and you're happy to stay with that?
I think I am happy to stay with that.
I won't ask you, Mike. I can't wait to read the Herald Sun next week. We're going to take a break. We're going to look at some of the biggest injuries of 1996 after this.
By the time they finish talking, well, my beers are getting flat. When Monday comes around, everyone's an expert in my
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me.
Let's hope the champ can come back. Jason Dunstall, so many knee injuries. And the big ones are Wren, Djakovic, Long, Swartz before the year.
Actually, Bruce, yeah, I was just thinking, Mike, when you look at that, and we talk about the toughness of football and all that, it's amazing, isn't it? There might have been a bit more biffo, but certainly the clashes and the injuries, the knees of yesteryear were never as many as this, were they?
I don't think so. I'm not quite sure why that happens, but it just seems to be that there's, of recent times, perhaps, is it the pace of the game?
I think so. Pace, stress, different angles, blokes going a bit quicker and get your body in different spots.
Yeah.
And Johnny Longmire, another one who we've got to think about a bit on this grand final leave, don't we?
Sure.
Who would have been out there playing for North Melbourne.
Because I think Longmire's probably fit enough to play, isn't he? I mean, he's been in full training for quite a while. Must be heartbreaking for him.
Yeah, I've spoken to him a couple of times in recent weeks, and I believe he's made the right decision, that...
I agree.
There's a long way to go for John Longmire, hopefully.
And Wren, who we talked about, could be a key Malcolm to Adelaide in 1997 as we look at what turned out to be a disappointing year for them in 1996.
If only the Crows could play all their matches at Football Park. For the first few weeks of the 96 season, the Crows devoured any side unfortunate enough to land in Adelaide. In round one, it was the Swans who found themselves humbled by 90 points. In round three, it was an 11-goal win over the Cats.
Sheahan, he's got lip tack wide, finds him now. This will bring the joint down if he can kick the goal. Lip tack, it'll come back, he'll get it. They'll love this.
When the Crows thrashed Essendon by 96 points in round four, they were on top of the ladder, and the whole state was talking flags.
And Robin plays on, gives it over towards McLeod. He heads for home. There's another one. How good's this, they say?
Darren Jarman was proving the most inspired recruit of the season, kicking bags of goals and picking up 1 million touches en route to All-Australian selection as a forward pocket. His brother Andrew was enjoying his best form in a long time, and Tony Modra, missing so often the season before, was back near his best, kicking goals steadily, if not with his usual explosiveness. Nobody hit the panic button when rounds 5 and 6 saw heavy losses to North and Collingwood in Melbourne. After all, the Crows enjoyed another 96-point victory, this time over Fremantle, and they returned to Football Park. And then it all stopped. The Eagles burst Adelaide's bubble at home in round 10 with a bruising victory, inspired by Dean Kemp's KO by Mark Rasciuto. And then the Melbourne bogey, denied so often by the Adelaide coaching staff, gobbled up the Crows. 39 points up against Hawthorn in the second quarter at Waverley in round 11, the Crows managed to lose, and it was the beginning of the end. Even their home ground dominance was gone. Melbourne beat them at Football Park, and they became easy beats anywhere else. Coach Robert Shaw resigned before the season ended, rattled by the lack of success and attacks on his house and car by so-called fans. Malcolm Blight will be in charge next year, looking for answers to the Crows' travelling horrors. He has the job ahead of him.
Going to miss you, Blighty, aren't we?
Oh, nice touch that. Say something, will you?
Oh, I just couldn't believe how serious you look.
I was watching the tape.
That's your new team.
Malcolm, can I Who actually has gone for sure? Anderson, McDermott, McGuinness, Wiedemann and Andrew Jarman?
Yes.
They're the only ones?
Yeah, there are some others, yeah. But basically, I suppose they're the ones that most people would know.
Malcolm, Sean Wren comes up. We all hope that. What do you do with he and Pittman?
This stage, I mean, I really haven't counted Sean. I mean, fantastic if he did come up. So status quo as far as I'm concerned on that.
So Pittman's your ruckman at the moment,
Yeah.
and Wren's the bonus.
Yeah.
And Darren Jarman?
Yeah.
A spot for him, a specific spot, or would you just let him float?
No, I think we'll find somewhere for him.
I'm sure you will. Do you want to tell us?
Oh, it's pretty early, Nick. I mean, season's not over yet.
Travelling interstate to Melbourne, is that a fallacy or something that you've got an idea about?
Oh, no, I think we'll do some changes to that. And at the end of the day, I mean, I've said there's 4 goalposts at either and in green in the middle, and I don't see much difference to that, to be honest.
You changing your coaching staff at all there?
There has been some changes made in areas, but generally speaking, the match committee from last year will stay, other than the coach, of course.
Right. Modra, 75, was it enough?
Oh, look, I think they've had a pretty disappointing season. The fact that ball didn't probably get down there as cleanly as it did in other years. I think the games that I saw, he played okay.
The other two with big knees, Costa and Tregenza.
Yeah, they're actually coming along reasonably okay.
The captain, on-field leadership?
Yeah, well, obviously the leaders are gone, so there has been an underneath type of player, which a lot of them are now 26, 27, and I suppose that player will emerge pre-season.
Come back on Talking Footy next year as a coach?
Well, I think we're going to train most Monday nights, Bruce, so it's always going to be pretty tough.
Hey, Mike, hope he answers a bit better next year. We'll have a dud. Look, let's go and have a look at Richmond now, the Tigers.
After the heroic saga of 1995, when Richmond improved so much to finish 4th, the Punt Road faithful had every right to be aiming higher this season. Spearhead Matthew Richardson was back, as big and agile and confident as ever, after recovering from knee surgery.
The clock is running, throws it on the left boot. That's a miraculous goal.
Chance at the back of the pack, Richardson. It's just been fantastic. Look at this for a snapshot by Richardson. Sensational. That's goal number 5.
And a straight swap of coaches with Brisbane saw accomplished premiership coach Robert Walls take control at Richmond. When the Tigers outmuscled and outhustled the Bears at the Gabba in round 3, it looked as though Walls might have got the better end of his exchange with John Northey. But there was plenty of football to come, and not much of it would be kind to the Tigers. Leading playmaker Matthew Knight was a long-term casualty because of ankle surgery, and minor problems with captain Tony Free's reconstructed knee blew up to be a season-ending and perhaps career-ending injury. On the scoreboard, the Tigers were failing by the barest of margins, just falling short. You had the feeling their luck had to change, and eventually it did. A mid-season rally saw Richmond sneak into 8th position. Mark Miranda reinvented as a creative player. Wayne Campbell returning to his best form, and Justin Charles, a revelation in the ruck.
Charles at the back.
Robert Powell made his mark when given a chance mid-season, and Paul Broderick was as consistently brilliant as ever. It appeared the Tigers would somehow manage to make the finals, until Hawthorn outlasted them in the August straight. A crashing round 21 win over Fitzroy in the beleaguered Lions' last ever game in Melbourne saw Richmond set all sorts of records. But the match that mattered came a week later, when the Tigers simply had to beat North Melbourne to make the 8. They fell short, despite a brave challenge in the 2nd and 3rd quarters. It was symbolic of the entire season for Walls' men.
Oh, look at that one! If you want to seal it, then maybe that is it.
What was the difference, do you think, between 95 and 96 for Richmond?
I think, just generally speaking, they won a few close ones the year before. They lost them this year, and all of a sudden there's a 4 or 5 game swing around. And at the end of the year, they weren't too far away.
No, they weren't. I think, again, they just had a very good 21 if they were all up. And Matthew Knight's just so critically important, missed the first half of the season. They never quite caught up from there, did they?
Beat Hawthorn twice, didn't they? Yet Hawthorn took their spot in the 8 at the end of the year. So I think a fair bit to look forward to for Richmond next year.
Certainly, I mean, Matthew Richardson will get better. I mean, not that he's not a very good player now, but he's got over that knee. He should be great next year.
Yeah. Look, we'll look at some of the coaches and how they fared in 1996 right after this.
Everyone's an expert in my town. And when Monday comes on by, everyone's an expert to this guy.
One of the constants of football remained true to form in the centenary year. 16 men would start the year as senior coaches, but only 13 would hold their jobs. In fact, there were 17 league coaches this year. One of them just didn't have a team yet. John Cale, veteran coach of Port Adelaide and briefly of Collingwood, was signed by Port Power as the man to guide the newest team through its inaugural season in 1997. Among the 16 active league sides, there was the usual pre-season switching and swapping. Tony Shaw was preparing for his first taste of coaching at Collingwood and stamped his authority early, banning Magpie players from the infamous King Street nightclubs. Rodney Eade, fresh from a flag with the North Reserves, moved to Sydney, and Ken Judge took over at Hawthorn. Robert Walls and John Northey waved to one another from opposing claims as they neatly traded places at Richmond and Brisbane. And Michael Noonan placed up to the hardest job in the game, coaching Fitzroy out of their seemingly endless slump. So how long did it take before the sounds of knives sharpening could be heard? 2 whole weeks of the season proper. Footscray's Alan Joyce was the one glancing over his shoulder after the Dogs started disastrously, beaten by a total of 218 points by Brisbane and North in the opening couple of rounds. Slumped on the bottom of the ladder for the first time since 1987, a crisis meeting was called, involving the committee, coach and players. Afterwards, Joyce and the players presented a united front to the media, declaring their unconditional love for one another. But love can be fleeting. 10 weeks and 7 occasionally heavy losses later, Joyce was replaced by Terry Wallace. If Joyce thought he had endured a rough season, he hadn't read all the headlines about Michael Noonan. The feisty South Australian had blown into Fitzroy full of opinions, game plans and enthusiasm and discipline. Ever so briefly, it appeared a new dawn could be in the making for the Lions. But overwhelming forces were working against the coach and the team. Simply, the performance of the football team was no longer the number one priority at the club, and Noonan found himself playing counsellor to his younger players as the sand shifted constantly under Fitzroy's feet. By mid-season, he was dealing with an administrator, Michael Brennan, instead of the people who hired him. There was doubt whether the Lions would even play out the season. And then the Brisbane Lions takeover happened, and Noonan quit, claiming he was hired to coach Fitzroy, not to be a caretaker for a new club. He returned to Adelaide, leaving assistant coach Alan McConnell to become a caretaker coach of the Lions for the 2nd straight year. Adelaide started the season with a 90-point win over Sydney, and followed up with big wins over Fitzroy, Geelong, and then a 96-point pounding of Essendon. Sitting on top of the ladder, it was inconceivable that the Crows would spiral out of finals calculations and coach Robert Shaw out of a job by August. It turned out the Crows still couldn't win in Melbourne, and as their confidence wilted, they even started losing at Football Park. After round 13's shocking loss to Melbourne, Shaw's home was pelted with eggs and his car rammed. The joys of coaching. He resigned not long after, announcing he would stand down at the end of the season. There were casualties. St Kilda's Stan Alves approached the middle rounds of the home and away season with a question mark over his future, as the Saints failed to live up to their early promise. But the Moorabbin team's fortunes improved, and so did Stan's chances of survival in the hot seat. It was only after they finally missed the finals that that his job would again come under focus, and he reacted badly, vowing that his troops would train throughout September. But not all the league's coaches were struggling. In fact, debut coach Rodney Eade couldn't put a foot wrong. After a haphazard opening fortnight, beaten by Adelaide and Fremantle, Eade's troops started to win, and win, and win. By the second half of the season, the Swans were unstoppable, and Sydney was jumping. Eade quietly directing traffic in the background. But those in the know noticed his success, and Eade was named All-Australian Coach. The Swans had risen from 12th to 1st in 1 year. Also on the rise after an indifferent start were the Eagles. Fired up after poker-faced Mick Malthouse made these claims on Talking Footy.
There's a transitional year. We've lost 800 games of experience and vital experience. Vital experience. It's not just someone you can replace overnight. So, but the exciting thing about this year is that we have introduced some young players, and we'll continue to introduce young players, but they're not going to immediately take over that role. They're going to add some enthusiasm, but they won't add experience. So I think that it's going to be a very difficult year, but we're all looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. So I haven't given this year away, no. But I'm a realist to know that we are a long way from the top sides at this stage.
West Coast won 11 straight games to move from 14th, the lowest placing in the club's history, to the top 4, and a serious tilt at another flag. So much for rebuilding.
Mike Noonan, Robert Shaw, Alan Joyce, do you think they have a chance of getting another job?
I don't think that we'll see Alan Joyce or Robert Shaw back in the coach's box. Not sure. There's something about Noonan that was an unfinished sort of appraisal of him. I mean, he had the toughest task ever in AFL football, and I think he did some good things, but I don't think we saw enough of him to know exactly whether he's got a future.
Graham Corns?
I think he's got something to offer, but the difficulty is he's seen to be in South Australia, and I'm not sure that the Victorian club would punt on him. But I quite like what Corn says about football.
Lee Matthews is an obvious one. Is there anybody else in the mix?
One that I've thought was probably hard done by at the time, and I'm impressed with what he says in his commentary, is Terry Wheeler. I think, he's got a few idiosyncrasies, but I think Terry certainly...
So there's a bloke sitting next to you.
Yeah, no, I think Terry Wheeler should be on the list of clubs that are looking for a coach.
We'll move on and we'll look at the West Coast Eagles and have a look at their season in '96. What a topsy-turvy one it was.
Credit where credit's due. Eagles coach Mick Malthouse pulled one of modern football's greatest poker-faced three-handed tricks this season. It came when his side was vying for the wooden spoon after 5 rounds, with only 1 win. Key players were out injured, even if the bravest of them, like skipper Worsfold, would run off the ground for a knee reconstruction. Other Eagle veterans looked old and slow. Nobody would have disagreed, although Malthouse's claim that the ox is slow, but the earth is patient, was received less readily. But the coach was foxing. Immediately after his comments, the real Eagles stood up. Melbourne was poleaxed by more than 100 points. And then both the eventual grand finalists were creamed in Perth. North by 11 goals and Sydney by 6 goals. Suddenly, West Coast was creeping up the ladder, led by recruits like Chad Morrison, the versatile Jared Schofield, to a lesser extent, David Werpunda, and to a huge extent, Norwich Rising Star winner Ben Cousins.
There's Simmons' kick, almost got there for the goal. Pickett gave it to Cousins!
It was not all good news. The super defender Glenn Jakovich went down with a big knee, taking West Coast's slender premiership ambitions with him in the eyes of many. Yet the juggernaut kept coming. Players like Mitchell White and Andrew Donnelly were shining, and the Eagles reeled off an 11-game winning streak before the Bears finally beat them at the Gabba. Toward the end of the home and away season, great wins over Essendon and Carlton ensured the Eagles were into their 8th final series in 10 years. And they blitzed Carlton in a Subiaco qualifying final to underline their flag challenge. But it was short-lived. Malthouse reluctantly took his team to the MCG for a semi-final against Essendon, and his lack of enthusiasm was justified as the Bombers hammered a badly outmatched West Coast. Maybe it was a rebuilding year after all. If so, watch out for the Eagles in 1997.
What do you think, Malcolm? They won 11 straight, I know. They played a lot of first-year players, Cousins, Morrison, Downsborough. Do you think they'll necessarily improve again in 97, or do you think that it will be harder for those players to repeat in their second year?
Yeah, I think they're going to be much more known next year, and I think Richmond went through that this year. There seems to be that club that does well one year, goes back. But this, I mean, I've just got so much respect for the club and the way they operate. The fact that they've been in the final 7 years in a row, you just can't see them dropping an 8th year in a row.
They didn't travel well, Malcolm. That was the thing I noticed about this year. It was
much younger side, and probably that learning process.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose some stabilising influences like Djakovic, Pike, Heady and those guys weren't there very often, were they? Worsfold.
And if you think of that, and they still got to where they got, it's a pretty good effort.
Yeah. Let's stay out west and have a look at Fremantle.
Gerard Neesham must have known the Dockers' second season would not see them lose their AFL P-plates. But even he must have been tearing his hair out at the unpredictability of his side. All season, the Dockers fought hard, prepared to have a dip. But it was a lottery whether they would fall short or blitz even the most highly rated opposition. Freo was the only side to beat Sydney in Sydney this season.
Manus, that's a goal for Fremantle.
Quick handball away. Bandy snap. This is close. I think he's got it. That would be it, you'd think.
The Dockers absolutely belted the Tigers in Perth and thrashed Carlton to end the Blues' 18-match winning run.
Here goes Abraham again. He could do anything. Winston waltzes to the 50. Goes for goal. It looks all right. It's home.
Yet in other matches, they were disappointing to the point of appearing substandard. Adelaide's 96-point win over the Dockers in Adelaide was one of the ugliest games of the year. And the Dockers were the only side to actually lose to Fitzroy, falling by 31 points at the Whitten Oval. Through rounds 10 to 16, the Dockers lost 7 straight games to rule out September action. Even so, 1996 proved that the Dockers have got the raw materials for success, even if maturity will take time.
Can Wills get a handle on it? He can. Left foot, look at this kick. Magnificent goal of the year. Oh, unbelievable.
Up forward, Kingsley Hunter had developed into a genuine spearhead, even if he needed to work on his accuracy. And Peter Mann added experience, although he had a quieter season than in 95.
Peter Mann drills it.
Number 1 draft choice Clive Waterhouse showed promise around the forward line, while Freo's twin towers, Jeff White and Daniel Bandy, were often unstoppable, racing around like 2-metre-high greyhounds. They will test any opposition ruckman for years to come, and that's without considering Spider Burton, the tallest man in the league.
He took 3 grabs at it.
Fremantle ended their uncertain season on a positive note, creating history by becoming the last team to beat Fitzroy. Victory gave them a winning finale and a positive path to next year, when, on song, with their distinctive running game, the Dockers can devastate anybody. They will improve.
Gary Durkay, cornered, hoisted high. Look out! Oh, you're joking!
Great goal. Interesting team, aren't they?
Absolutely epitomised Fremantle, didn't they? When they were hot, they were just fantastic. They beat everyone, and of course lost to Fitzroy.
They can be hot, as you say. I mean, they beat Sydney twice.
Carlton.
Beat Carlton.
Richmond.
And the game against Collingwood, they were fantastic that night. They are exciting to watch.
Actually, I reckon he's got a pretty good list, Jared. I think the next 12 to 18 months.
And the kids didn't let him get in. I mean, I thought perhaps Peter Mann and Ben Allen, for different reasons, Scotty Waters and those experienced blokes weren't as good as he would have expected this year.
When you think away from home, they beat Sydney, lose to Brisbane by a kick and lose to Essendon by a kick. It's not bad form. So Fremantle with a future. We did lose some loved ones in 1996.
On a Tuesday morning in April, the centenary year celebrations were put on hold as the football world mourned the passing of one of its most beloved sons. At 39, Trevor Barker had lost his year-long battle against cancer. The blonde hair, the boyish, almost angelic looks, and the super leap were his trademark. In the hard years at Moorabbin in the 70s and early 80s, there was no St Kilda player who wore the red, white and black with more pride than Barker. He played 231 games, won the St Kilda Best and Fairest twice, captained the club over 4 years and represented Victoria with distinction 7 times. At the time of his death, he was assistant to coach Stan Alves.
Trevor will be forever fill a special place in the hearts and minds of the St Kilda Football Club. We were privileged to have known him, and we record our appreciation for the many sacrifices that he made for this club. Although distressed, we are at the same time inspired by Bark's courage and his ability to fight to the end with his usual commitment.
Bruce Andrew played only 62 games for Collingwood, but will be remembered as one of the most influential figures in the 100 years of our great game. The dual premiership wingman of 1928 and 1930 would become the secretary of the Australian National Football Council. He would oversee the development of the game throughout the country. His early training films featuring the great stars of the 30s and 40s took football into new frontiers. And as a world of sport panellist over 3 decades, his centre part and keen eye became part of footy folklore. Essendon lost a trio of greats. Keith Forbes was twice runner-up in the Brownlow, captain of the Bombers, and played 152 games from 1928 to 1937. He'd be captain-coach of North and play briefly with Fitzroy. He was one of the great goal-kicking Rovers. Bill Brittingham was a member of Essendon's 1949 and 50 premiership sides. He played 171 games and was twice club-leading goal kicker. And Doug Bigelow, a rugged defender who played in 3 grand finals in his 148-game career, before coming a long-serving commentator with the ABC. Collingwood mourned the passing of the 1940 Brownlow medalist Des Fothergill. He polled 32 votes to share the award with Herbie Matthews. One of the Magpie greats, Fothergill played 27 times for Victoria in Sheffield Shield cricket.
Welcome back to Talking Footies. That was the season that was. There's the Premiership Cup, the Gold Cup, and North Melbourne or the Sydney Swans. And for Ross Oakley, who has fostered the national competition, he is going to be a very proud man tomorrow. The Chief Executive, let's take a look at the Oakley years.
Dipper and Diesel were about a month from sharing the Brownlow medal. Hawthorn was en route to its 4th straight grand final and its 2nd flag of the 80s. And an unheralded former St Kilda wingman took over as the new league chief commissioner. Ross Oakley was something of a bolt from the blue as the man to replace Jack Hamilton as head of the then Victorian Football League. The appointment of this little-known former player, businessman and Hawthorn director had club executives scratching their heads. But if they had trouble recognising Ross Oakley, it would be a temporary dilemma. Oakley quickly stamped his authority. Even if he wasn't behind every decision, he was the front man to the most radical decade of football politics and development since the formation of the league almost 100 years before. We saw the VFL become the AFL. We saw teams from Perth and Brisbane take to the field in 1987, and the Adelaide Crows were not far behind. The salary cap was introduced, the under-19s abolished, and the melee rule added to make the game cleaner. A woman, Elaine Canty, was appointed to the tribunal. A racial vilification act was enforced and aggressive marketing commissioned. An advertising campaign to rival Tina Turner's work for rugby league. I'd like to see that.
These guys can whack the ball a mile with their fists. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Look at that punch. Big hunky guys getting dirty? Yeah, I'd like to see that.
I've seen Australian rules. What rules?
We saw Oakley push for a night grand final and oversee continual alterations to the final system. The final 5 became a final 6, and then a different 6, and then a final 8. Even the physical landscape of football changed. The sparkling new Great Southern Stand rose above the MCG, while the Waverley Stadium wilted in the east. When Oakley took the job, his major task was to rescue the league and its clubs from a desperate financial state. That meant making some very hard decisions. The 1992 Crawford Report convinced the clubs to hand over their executive powers to a new 8-man commission, with Oakley now named Chief Executive Officer. He was still very much the one wielding the sword, which put him squarely on a collision course with those in the outer, although he was well used to public hatred by then. If he had ever doubted the passion and fury he would face, he found out the truth late in 1989. A clumsy league attempt to orchestrate the first merger in the form of the Fitzroy Bulldogs saw an explosion of rage and rebellion in the western suburbs. Having been announced as a fait accompli, the Fitzroy Bulldogs staggered and died with a whimper, as the Footscray faithful rattled tins and fought back, lawyer Peter Gordon taking on the Oak head-to-head. Bumper stickers read, "Up yours, Oakley," and the football traditionalists had decided who was wearing a black hat. Under that hat, Oakley's hair was greying, but his resolve never wavered. He held firm on his belief that Melbourne teams would have to go, and never hid his intentions to make that happen. Fitzroy, having failed to take over the Bulldogs, was always the most likely first casualty, finally dying this year. With Fremantle and Port Adelaide also joining up, the blowtorch on other struggling Melbourne clubs is not about to let up. Tough but fair, diplomatic but firm, Ross Oakley has left quite a legacy.
You almost need to see something like that to see the changes in the game since he's been in power. You worked with him, Mike, for his first 4 years, didn't you?
Yes, I did, Bruce, and he's certainly grown in stature, as most people would in that, because he's an intelligent man and it was new to him, but he's, it was a rocky start for him. I think there was some resentment amongst the clubs that someone from the outside had come in and to take over the running of the game. But look, the one thing he'll be able to do is look back on his 10 years in office and see the most tumultuous period probably in the history of the game.
Never seen more changes in 100 years.
And I'd forgotten about a few of those that we've just watched.
And is Wayne Jackson over the line? I know you wrote the story.
I certainly hope he is, Bruce.
It seems that he is.
Look, my understanding is that he'll be announced early next week to replace Ross. And, I mean, his credentials are pretty good, actually. I mean, he's been a part-time commissioner for 18 months or 15 months, and his background in South Australia is excellent. Yeah,
Chief Executive of SA Brewing. Did you play against him, Malcolm? I remember him playing.
Yeah. If that's the case, I reckon it's a great choice, and it's just great to see another South Australian up there, Bruce.
Yeah, well, that's right. Don't remind everybody, bloody. No, he looks like he's over the line, and I'm sure he'll do. Well, I'm not sure of anything, are you, in this world? But let's hope he does a great job. The centenary year, didn't the AFL get behind it? And this was another one of Ross Oakley's. They really did make it a celebration. They gave us a lot to look forward to. They gave us a lot of great nights. Let's have a look at some of the big occasions in the centenary year.
The 100th season of league football got away to a dismal start. The celebrations were all but blown away. The world's most famous centenarian made a surprise visit to the Melbourne Cricket Ground to help launch the year in February.
Well, what can I say after that? Except that I declare the Coca-Cola AFL Centenary season open.
Driving rain kept all but the hardiest away. Those that came saw some of our top players as they've never seen them before. 3,200 guests returned to the MCG for the Centenary Ball. This time a huge marquee protecting the partygoers from the chilly elements. Again, we called on some of the sport's biggest names.
It's a high-flying flag, it's the emblem for me and for you.
Footy took on a cultural look. While the crowds might not have endorsed the Centenary Art Show, the quality thrilled the organisers. Australia Post released 50 million stamps, a special stamp for each of the 16 AFL clubs. It was their biggest release in history. AFL marketing had something for everyone. The highlight was undoubtedly the reenactment series, Wednesday, May 8th. And what a far cry from that same day in 1897, when 8 teams kicked off the VFL. 75,000 were at the MCG. They saw 2 Legends teams, led by 2 of the icons of Australian football, Ron Barassi and Lee Matthews.
Mackay. Peter Dacos. Well, he could just do magical things wherever he played, couldn't he? Let's see what he's done here. And he's kicked that one.
Then the first of 4 reenactment matches. Essendon and Geelong in the same strips they wore 100 years ago. A documentary was commissioned. A lavish centenary book released. The AFL had named the late Ted Whitten as the first legend of the game prior to his death last year. In 1996, 11 more names were added. In August, 100 of the greats were inaugurated to the AFL Hall of Fame. Members of the media, coaches, administrators and umpires were also honoured. All were in line for the AFL's Team of the Century, unveiled at a lavish live telecast at the Princess Theatre in Melbourne. Ted Whitten would be named captain. The Demon great Norm Smith, coach. All that remained was that one special touch, the one-off Golden Centenary Premiership Cup, awaiting the champion team of this memorable season.
And a special pre-match entertainment before the grand final tomorrow, part of that centenary year. State of Origin footy, has it got any future, do you think?
Oh, gee, I hope so, Bruce. But, you know, for everyone that keeps pushing it, you just wonder if the players want it. I mean, that's, you know, it was a bit disastrous with both games this year.
It was. I've been a strong advocate of state footy, and I think the bulk of the players are, but it certainly didn't work this year, did it?
No, I think it's interesting when you see the first game or first couple of games you play for Victoria. Everyone's wide-eyed and goggled, you know, all that sort of stuff. But as they get on a bit, they do go missing with injuries, some of them, don't they, at the right time?
But it is a very demanding program. That's the other thing, I think. I don't think we give it a real chance because it's such a demanding program on these players.
I think around the world, football codes that have great, strong competitions like we do, week in and week out, always have trouble with this one. In most countries, in Europe, for instance, club football's more popular than national football. In America, the Super Bowl's so much bigger than the Pro Bowl. I think because we suffer because our competition week in and week out is so strong that we don't really need this. It doesn't. Rugby league needs it.
It's a big dilemma for the AFL now, isn't it? I mean, they're coming to the time where they do have to make a decision in principle whether they continue to go with it or just turn their back on it.
Malcolm, this next shot is your first night at Adelaide training, I think. Oh no, it's not. It was the lights went out. This is your first job as a host on. It was on an Optus game, wasn't it? St Kilda and Essendon. The night the lights went out.
Yes, it was an amazing night, and for all those that have seen me host after, that was probably my best effort.
That was the weirdest night of the year, wasn't it?
Well, it was, and you know, at the end of the day, I think that perhaps playing it, the debacle after when to play it, I think in the end the decision was right, perhaps to complete the game. I didn't think it at the time, but I think they got out of that pretty well in the end.
It's had everything this year, hasn't it? I mean, I've forgotten about that, but it's just been right across the spectrum.
Sheeds made the most out of this too, remember? How he played it so cleverly?
Yeah.
And the Bombers.
An important win for them, and of course a disappointing loss for St Kilda, as it turned out.
Yeah. So the lights going out. We speak of St Kilda. Let's see how they measured up after winning that pre-season competition, the Ansett Cup in '96.
They'd won the Ansett Cup, and it looked as though the Saints were ready to take on the world. But come the real thing, the home and away rounds, St Kilda got the wobbles. In the first round, they couldn't match it with North Melbourne.
Gets about his first kick for the second half and goals.
In round two, Geelong had their number, not least Gary Ablett against Christian Bardsley in the incident that cost Ablett 5 weeks. Lowe kicked 9 goals that day, but even with the spearhead in form, Burke and Harvey running wild, and youngsters like Ozzie Jones and Joel Smith blitzing, the Saints couldn't win a game.
Hand gather, hand pass, yes, that's better. Jones goes for goal, and Jones has popped it through. Good football, St Kilda.
The loss that really hurt was against lowly Melbourne in round 3.
That's Winmar too.
Not only did St Kilda lose 4 points that day, but they saw star runner Nicky Winmar carried off with a seriously injured knee. He wouldn't play again until round 13.
Really don't want to see that.
But a month in, the Saints finally started to build their season. A string of wins, including a classic over Collingwood in round 7, saw the Saints edge their way back into finals contention.
Beautifully done. Stuart Lowe will head for home. He bends it back and he's kicked the cellar.
By round 17, when they beat Geelong, Lowe kicking 7, and then Collingwood again a week later, ending the Magpies' finals hopes. They were warm favourites for 8th spot.
Smith goes bang. It may have covered the players on the goal line. I think it's a goal to St Kilda.
However, yet again, the Saints' momentum died. Another couple of vital losses at the end of the season to Footscray and Hawthorn in rounds 20 and 21 finally put September out of reach.
Where do you think they're at, the Saints?
Well, I think the last 3 years they've slowly gone up the ladder, haven't they? I mean, in wins. You would think that they're cherry ripe next year. I know we say that about lots of sides, but you'd think that the graph would need to go up again.
Certainly, I would agree with that. And I think this year they did have a pretty good run with injuries. I mean, they lost two key players, Winmar for a long period, and Zilla, who is very important to the way they play.
Just briefly, how good was that class of 95? Next year they'll be in their third. We look at Smith, Jones, Brown, Zilla. Are they the players that can take them the extra step?
I think Jones certainly had a good year. Zilla was injured, and Joel Smith just dropped off a little bit. So, yeah, they can. They've got quality players.
And the big four are a year older, but boy, I mean, the Brownlow medal was testimony how good that, I know Nicky didn't have a good year with injury, but Burke, Harvey and Lowe. We'll take a break from the Saints. We'll look at some of the milestones for the year after this.
Talking while my beers are getting flat. When Monday comes around, everyone's an expert in my town.
For half a century, the endurance record of Jack Skinny Titus, who played 204 consecutive games, looked untouchable. This season, it would fall to Melbourne's Irish-born and bred Brownlow medalist, Jimmy Styles. At season's end, the Iron Man had strung together 218 without a miss. In round 3, Collingwood celebrated the centenary season by becoming the first team to play 2,000 league games. They lost to the Swans. The goal kickers continue to provide a golden era for the game. Gary Ablett kicked his 1,000th goal, causing a third-quarter invasion in the game against Fremantle. He became the 5th man in history to reach the mark. Tony Lockett kicked 100 for the 5th time, won his 3rd Coleman medal, and in yet another awesome season, topped 1,100 career goals. In the most dramatic circumstances, Jason Dunstall waited until the last gasp to kick his 100th goal. He kicked 10 against Melbourne in round 22 to propel the Hawks into the finals for the 14th time in 15 years. They got there by a solitary point. It was the record's 6th time he'd reached the century. And a special mention must be made of Steve Kernahan. Like Dunstall, he topped his club's goal kicking for the 11th year in a row. In round 14, the Carlton skipper captained the Blues for the 200th time. Of the playing milestones, we saw 2 veterans reach 300. Roger Merritt, the one-time Essendon hard man, joined the elite company, as did former All-Australian captain and Fitzroy star Paul Roos. His second footy life has been a revelation at Sydney. Steve Wallace made it 250 for Footscray, as did Geelong's Brownlow medalist Paul Couch, who did it with style, earning best on ground status against the Eagles. 2 interesting additions to the 200 club. Carlton's son of Serge, Steve Silvani, became the first son to follow his dad into this illustrious group. And how about Hawk Andy Collins? Of his 200, the last 177 without a miss.
And finishing Andy Collins, unfortunately, on such a sad note, which brings me to the tribunal. Mike, do you think we'll see many changes in the way it's set up? Umpires, do you think they'll be represented?
I think they should be represented. I'm coming around to the idea of set penalties, and I think certainly they need to look at the reporting procedure. I mean, it's just clearly too erratic for what we've got at the moment. I mean, there's no consistency to it. One thing's reported one week and then the same incident is missed the next week.
And the investigation area's been the big problem, hasn't it, in the last month or 2?
It has. And the funny thing is, we've had it this week. We've had the most thorough investigation we've ever seen. Yeah. But I think that was a legacy of what wasn't done in the Howard Barnes affair.
Well, let's go down to the other end of the scale and look at some of the big award winners in 1996.
The umpires, like many good judges, were unable to separate the 2 young superstars, James Hird and Michael Voss, in 1996. The joint winners of the Brownlow medal both polled votes in 9 matches and played huge roles in their club's travels through to the preliminary finals. While 1,560 people paid tribute to Brisbane's Voss and to Essendon's Hird at the World Congress Centre on Monday night, we had to spare a thought for another young champion, perhaps the unluckiest footballer going around today. Corey McKernan cut a lonely figure as he watched the count unfold at home. A round 6 indiscretion, kneeing John Barnes of Geelong, had earned him the latest suspension the tribunal could hand out. 1 week. It would cost him the medal. Like Hurd and Voss, he too polled 21 votes. Unlike them, he was not invited to the function. The first person to top the Brownlow counts, but be ineligible to win, was also desperately unlucky in 1994, when he missed out on the Norwich Rising Star, the rookie Brownlow, after being suspended on the now obsolete rule of tripping by hand. He gets his chance tomorrow, though. In one of the most tense Brownlow counts ever, 11 players were separated by 4 votes at the end. Footscray's Chris Grant, who's still being wooed by many clubs, put his asking price up when he came in 1 vote behind the winners, along with St Kilda captain Nathan Burke. Looking back at the big winners for 1996, the Michael Tuck Medal, awarded in the pre-season competition, went to St Kilda's Nicky Winmar. We had a sensational head-to-head finish in the $10,000 Norwich Rising Star. Sydney's Shannon Grant pipped by a solitary vote by West Coast's Ben Cousins. The Coleman Medal went to Sydney's Tony Lockett for the 3rd time, ending Gary Ablett's 3-year reign. Plugger finished the home and away series with 114 goals, 13 clear of Jason Dunstall.
And Robert Harvey got the Whitten, and Tony Modra, the Foss Williams. So the big awards there. And the Norm Smith coming up for the best player on the ground, which is really one of the very big ones, I think, don't you, in the grand final?
Be a nice one to be able to have on your in your living room, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Robert to be admitting.
Who's your tip, Malcolm, for the Norm Smith?
78, he should have won it. I find that too hard. I mean, I just... Kerry McKernan, Kelly, Lockett. How's that?
That's good. I went for Glenn Archer.
Good on you.
Okay, well, you're helping, aren't you?
I am. I'm one of the judges, yeah.
I might put my money on Archer now.
How can you back something?
I didn't.
No, he's just tipping.
Tipping.
No money involved. Let's have a look at the Brisbane Bears. They'll be the Lions next year and see how they fared in 96.
A taste of the finals last year and a new coach in John Northey were all the inspiration Brisbane needed to make the first serious charge at a flag in the club's 10-year history. From the moment the Bears thrashed Footscray at the Gabba in round 1, the club's intentions were clear. Spearhead Alistair Lynch was finally back from a year of battling chronic fatigue syndrome, even if he was only playing in bursts, and he was kicking steady bags of goals. Roger Merritt had become a dangerous interchange specialist, holding back the years just one more time. And Matthew Clark was establishing himself as possibly the league's most dangerous ruckman, dominating the air and giving first use of the ball to outstanding players like Michael Voss, Adrian Fletcher and Craig Lambert. Up forward, the freakish Darryl White and the enthusiastic Justin Levish provided solid support for Merritt and Lynch, while Richard Champion was starring in defence. It didn't take long for word to get around. Huge crowds were flooding the Gabba even before the Bears won 5 straight games from round 4. The biggest Australian rules crowd in Brisbane since 1952 turned out for the round 3 game against Richmond, and it was one of the games of the year, even if the Bears lost narrowly. On the road, Brisbane was proving it was the real deal as well. It convincingly won both games in Perth, drew with Geelong at Kardinia Park, and finally started to win on a regular basis in Melbourne, outpointing Richmond and North at Optus Oval, after breaking through for its first Melbourne win in almost 2 years against Footscray in the Whitten Oval mud. The Bears had a mid-season lapse, dropping games to St Kilda and Adelaide in rounds 13 and 14, but then stormed home to earn a qualifying final at the Gabba with the last kick winner, the Fremantle. In the opening final, another packed Gabba crowd saw Essendon fall by a single point in a classic contest after a Gavin Wanganeen shot hit the post in the dying seconds. When the Bears beat Carlton in the semi-finals by 97 points, the prospect of the Premiership Cup travelling way north appeared more than likely. But North ended the Brisbane dream in ruthless fashion, all but squashing the Bears' challenge within a quarter in the preliminary final. Even so, the Bears are young, fast and hungry. They'll be hard to beat next year, not least because they're set to become the Brisbane Lions, adding the best of Fitzroy's players to their already imposing list.
How's that going to work for them, Malcolm?
Well, I've just had the theory that you've got to be careful if you put 8 new players in the side. I'm not saying that would happen, but they've had a terrific mix this year. And I just wonder if you put too many in, you just might destabilise that wonderful thing they've got going.
True, except I can only see 3 automatic selections in Brisbane's best team: Malloy, Boyd and Johnson.
Yeah.
And the others, I mean, depth can't hurt you, can it?
No, true.
Very briefly, John Northey. His first chance, I think, really to win a premiership at a club. What's the time frame for him?
Well, you know, the urgency about coaching. I would think he'd certainly want to make a grand final in the next 2 years, and he would be secure for probably another 3 or 4 if he were to win a flag in that time.
Well, they look to be in pretty good shape, don't they? We're going to take a break on That Was the Season That Was, and we'll be back with more after this. Welcome back to this Talking Footy special on Grand Final Eve. Still a couple of clubs to look at, including Collingwood. Let's start with Geelong. They've lost their assistant coach, Jeff Geeshan, during the week. Let's see how they fared in 1996.
As always, Geelong's form changed more often than the weather throughout the 1996 season. The Cats were on fire early, playing all over the Demons in round 1, with the seemingly ageless Gary Ablett booting 9 goals, 6 at full forward. But that was to be Ablett's only moment in the sun for a long time. A week later, he was suspended for 5 weeks, and the Cats wandered aimlessly without him. In fact, they seem to have forgotten how to win.
Keating thumps it goalward, close to the boundary, forced across, it's level.
It'll be a draw.
It's level.
Against the Bears in round 10 and against the Hawks in round 15, they let match-winning leads slip, while in other games they were completely outplayed. Not least by Adelaide in round 3, and in a hyped-up finals rehearsal against the all-conquering Swans in round 14. The match fizzled when Geelong couldn't find second gear. Yet in other big games, such as against Carlton and West Coast, the Cats look sensational. Another strong September showing on the cards.
Into the path of Ablett, lets it bounce, then he slips over, bounces to his feet, throws it on the boot, kicks a goal.
In round 21, Geelong bamboozled North, upsetting that side's hot form. With Gary Hocking burning and a team plan to kick short, Geelong were unstoppable and went into a cutthroat qualifying final against the Kangaroos full of confidence. But such hope was sadly misplaced. North jumped the Cats within minutes. Ablett couldn't get a kick, and suddenly Geelong looked old, tired and slow. It could be a summer of long knives.
Malcolm, is it time for Geelong to take the knife out and do some heavy pruning?
I think that next week when trading starts, you know, there will be some names mentioned. Most clubs do mention them, and there's probably going to be some mention at Geelong.
I'll mention 2 to you now. Gary Ablett and Barry Stoneham. The future for both of them?
Barry, I think, got through the year. I think he was happy with that. He played in patches, certainly. I think another pre-season with a bit of confidence, and I think he can get back there. Ablett, he did peter out again towards the end of the season, but I mean, he was handy early. Perhaps that suspension upset him. I think he'll go again.
Barnes and King, that mix, getting that right?
Yeah, well, I suppose Carlton have had that with Madden and Matthew Allen as well. So I suppose it's really the apprenticeship and the senior player.
Lee Colbert, they put a lot of responsibility on him this year as vice-captain. He's only young. He's had 2 disappointing finals in the last 2 seasons. How do you rate him?
I think what you said is young, and he's had a pretty good year, hasn't he? He's really taken the next step in footy, so you'd expect him to go on from here.
They missed Pickering a bit late, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, for sure. Let's have a look at Collingwood. They finished the season in some style.
The Magpies launched into the 96 season, President Alan McAllister choosing to avoid a boardroom coup and walking before the practice matches had even finished. Even so, the Black and White Army had every right to think that their team was in for a brighter season. The tenacious Tony Shaw was in control as coach. Nathan Buckley was fit and primed to be the on-field leader. Mickey McGuan was in his best early season form for years. And Severio Rocker was set for a big year in front of goal. A 94-point win over Melbourne in the second round saw the Pies kick their highest score ever against the Demons.
Again, they charge towards half-forward. Picked up beautifully on the half volley by Rocker for another one to serve. Oh, what a day for the Pies.
They lost the club's 2000th league appearance against Sydney, but enjoyed a fantastic come-from-behind win over Essendon in front of a giant Easter crowd. And the Magpies all but queuing for finals tickets. but they were a bit premature. Losses to St Kilda, Brisbane and then Geelong saw the confidence fade and injuries were mounting. Lee Walker had already disappeared for yet another knee reconstruction. Mickey McGuan, so important in the early rounds, was hospitalised, needing abdominal surgery after being kneed in the stomach a few weeks before. He was out for the season and maybe forever. Even Sav Rocca, that imposing presence, was wounded, sidelined with a shoulder injury that saw his form fluctuate for the rest of the season. When Melbourne reversed that round 2 belting in round 10, Collingwood's season was coming unstuck. And a week later, West Coast delivered the Pies' 5th straight loss to all but put the finals out of reach. But not all the news was bleak. Off the field, star midfielder Nathan Buckley celebrated his best season yet by turning his back on a huge financial offer from Port Power. Buckley declared himself a magpie at heart, not just by wallet. Collingwood celebrated by trouncing premiership contender Brisbane at Victoria Park in round 22. Craig Kelly and Alan Richardson bowing out in style. Tony Shaw, who showed inventiveness and measure in his first year as coach, has plenty to work with as he looks to 97.
What about winning those games late in the year, even when you miss out, Malcolm?
Someone does that every year, you know, and we get a bit excited about it. But I'd suggest that Tony Shaw in his first year started well, had that horror stretch, didn't they, where they lost so many in a row. And I think probably at the end of the year they got a bit of confidence. They'd have something to look forward to.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important. The last 3 were very good, weren't they?
McGuan, Mike?
Huge question mark over him, Bruce. And you know, I'm a real fan of Mickey's and his influence on the Collingwood footy team, but he's having trouble with Shorey. I mean, I think he's having trouble with the discipline. He's a year older, obviously. It's going to be difficult for him. I mean, he's just such a great player, but I think he needs to start to knuckle down a bit quicker than he has.
Gavin Brown?
Well, he finished better. I mean, I was a critic of his. I thought he was in big trouble mid-season, but he certainly finished better than he'd been going. And maybe the confidence and the match practice has just got him back. I mean, there's no reason to doubt his endeavour or his skill, is there? He just seemed to have lost his confidence.
And we've all talked symbolically about Buckley staying and how important that is to the club. So the Maggies with a bit to look forward to in 1997. Football's greatest prize, the Premiership Cup, North Melbourne or Sydney?
I do like the Roos, and that is the Kangaroos, not the Poolroos. I think they've had a fantastic year. The Swans deservedly are playing in it and have had a great season too, but perhaps the Roos at home.
Well, I'm big on history, Bruce, and the Swans have won 18 and lost 5 and drawn 1, and North have won 18 and lost 6. I think it'll be closer than a lot of people suspect.
Come back in time to before Menzies, before the World Wars and Phar-Lap, to before Federation. Come back a century, and the very beginnings, the birth, not just of this great game, but of this great day. Back then, it belonged to Melbourne, to Victoria. Now, in every possible and in every improvable way, it's Australia's day. It's about yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It's the ghosts of guys with football the biggest part of their name. It's the showmanship, the spirit, and the skills of Bunton, Kazali, and that man, Captain Blood. Now passed down to the young and the clever, the great and the game. It's the power of flight without wings, or putting balls on strings and crowds on feet. It's fact and fantasy, all at the very same time. on the very same stage. Welcome to the eternal tradition that is Australian football's greatest day, where the first 100 years were only yesterday, and the next century begins and ends at first light tomorrow.
From the Melbourne Cricket Ground, Seven Sport welcomes the world to the AFL Centenary Grand Final between North Melbourne and the Sydney Swans.
Thought about going short again to Shannon Grant. Now elects to go inside, back in towards the middle. A big ask for Dunkley, who's got to beat a couple. Well, it bounces in his favour. His kick is a poor one, however. Straight onto the chest of Stevens. He goes wide. This could be costly. On the outer side, it's Capuano just forward of centre wing. Deep in towards Crocker and Carey. And it's Crocker. It's been a handy option down in that forward line this season. That looks like his 18th goal for the year. And North are on the board. But Dunkley appears to be okay. That's good news. O'Loughlin again. Delightful hand pass is all right. Rue's short kick. Doesn't travel a great distance. Well trapped by Corey McKernan. Maxfield almost had him. It'll finish with Laidley. He's 55 metres from home. Kicks in towards half forward. North need a mark. They haven't got it, but they've got the players waiting down. Allison, he loves a goal. And he's got one for North Melbourne.
Belts the ball wide to centre wing. Chapman out here. Again, a fickle bounce. Back to Chapman. Road one. Back to Roos. Roos measures the kick. Well done. Maxfield on to Grant. Is a left footer. Decided not to go. Mooney. Handball over the top. Maxfield at 48, 46, 45. Centering kick. The right thing to do. Luff's got it. Couldn't hold it. Probably should have. And he's going to be paid. Struggled for 6 seasons. Finally making his mark. Can he kick a goal in the grand final? Lockett likes it, it's through.
Paul Roos in picture there has already had 10 possessions. Had a quiet week last week. Here's a snap. North are hot. There's another one to him.
Another lead change here. 3-2 to 3-1. Great play, Allison, to get it to Stevens. Dyson out of the centre, beautifully done. Maxwell could go a long way here. Kicks the ball to Luff, he's got him. Just inside 50, angle about 45 degrees. He's kicked it beautifully again. Stafford, McKernan. Stafford at the back. Started well, Stafford. Kelly, well done. To Bays. Bays away to Grant. Fantastic kick to Mooney, who can thump the ball from a long way. He's going to go to Luff. Very wide. He's got him. Well, why can't he go back and kick another? Except he's going to go on. He's got a man all on his own. In the pocket to Bays. Bays plays on to Lockett. Another one. Great play. Rocks kick it half back to centre wing. Crocker, Carey coming in from the side. Well played though. Bays to Dyson, to Creswell. It's happening for Sydney at the moment. Mooney, a good contest with Fairley. Lewis with a chance. Well played. Lockett in the box seat as he can't work to the front. Martin with him. Played Lockett. Played Tony. Left foot goal. Sensational. Bays quickly on. Stafford's had an excellent start. Kelly's on. If he can deliver, decides to handball to Creswell. Still Kelly's on. Creswell decides to go long. Mooney the target. Fairley gets back. Mooney pushes him out. Has an opportunity to kick a goal. Goes for it and drills it. What about this? All too easy. So he hasn't come off for the blood. Capuano's off again, so Dennis Pagan unhappy about the balance. Luff, well done. Kelly centering kick. Lockett couldn't quite get there. There was a wasted opportunity. The umpire's down behind play. Martin away. Sydney giving that one up. Good kick, Mickey Martin, to Blakey. Blakey quickly on to Scott. No, decides to go long. Carey the target versus Dunkley. Carey front spot, play on. North got a free kick. Roberts well played. Handball over the top. Carey trying to crash his way through. Rocket. Here's an opportunity. Good snap goal. Freeborn. You can feel a swing here. Shoal, long way from home. Kicks to the spot that North likes so much. Carey, the target. Lewis, Freeborn. He's a good kick. He's already kicked one. Round the body. He's got another. They're back. Sydney led by 25 points at one stage in this quarter. North's got it back to 11. Stafford front spot. Chapman well played to Garlick. Garlick quickly onto O'Loughlin. Brilliantly done. O'Loughlin's give us excellent to Maxfield. Oh, wonderful kick to Lockett. Brilliant football. Kicks his fourth. Bays' kick. Still on the ground there, Carey. Now he says he's okay. Bays' kick was wide, went to Archer. Archer delivers beautifully to Bell. Had a couple of touches since coming on. Inside to Laidley. Runs his full measure. Kicks the ball to centre half forward. Good kick. Crocker front spot, ridden into the ground. Taken by Allison. He's normally a good kick. He's got another one. Well done.
From the middle, with just 3/4 of a minute remaining. Desperate times as Creswell loses it. Popped over the top and slapped by McKernan. Inside 50, Rock was there. Blakey was there. Freeborn is there. Around his body goes Freeborn. And here comes North Melbourne. The bounce is favouring David King of North. He gives it to Freeborn. Freeborn gives it away once again towards Laidley. A hurried kick is high. They've all got to stand and wait and let Carey come over the top.
Delivers. They've got numbers, North. Crocker sets himself. Front man, no show. They were both positioned. It's been a revelation this year as a goal kicker. He's got it. That's the one they wanted.
Sydney now feeling the heat. He goes into the middle. Dunkley got a hand to it, but that was all. Maxfield, the flyer, is through the centre. Stewie Maxfield's away. He wants Lockett desperately, and he's got it. It's not a difficult kick. It is as far as pressure is concerned. He's okay.
Back in the centre. Stafford. Stevens out of the centre. 10-13, 9-5. Blakey to Rock. North dangerous again. Attacking at Roberts. Bell has done well at 50. Centering kick. To the front of the goals. Is it going through for goal? Is it touched? I don't think so. It's a goal. Mighty war around the ground for the Kangaroos. Roberts lays it down. Crocker snaps it. He's got it.
A centering kick into centre half forward. Dropped by Shaw. Had it spent before he got it. Kick it. Lightning hands to Maxfield. In towards the centre. The bouncing ball eludes them all except one. Back towards kick it again. Written into the ground. A cry of ball by the North fans. Anderson goes over the top. Anthony Rock. He's 55 out. He's done a 360. Back to Anderson. Off to Shaw. Can go over the top. He does to Stevens. Stevens can just about seal it for North Melbourne. Huskus left it towards centre, but stolen by Roberts. Mark Roberts likes a goal from 49 metres. North Melbourne look home here at the MCG. There's Rodney Eade, Dennis Carroll, former captain of the club, also there. O'Loughlin. O'Loughlin for goal. 35 metres out. He's kicked it. Maybe they're not done with yet.
Kicks the ball to half forward. Carey and Dunkley. Seymour after it. Still after it. Carey worries him out of it. The captain kicks it beautifully to Rock. Rock at 50. Takes his man on. 48 metres out. Kicks for goal and drills it home. And they're home.
Official attendance today, 93,102. Fantastic. Wonderful atmosphere as McKernan tries to storm his way through. He gets caught, but he's got plenty of support. Here's Roberts. Roberts for goal! And Roberts has sealed it for North Melbourne. it over the top. Lewis gets the hand pass away to kick it. He's still outside 50. Had it, lost it, regained it. Pumps it long, pumps it high, and has kicked a goal. Unfortunately, this is not far off the mark once again this year. Kickett leaves it for O'Loughlin. Around his body swings the youngster, and he kicks a wonderful goal. The North Melbourne chant has gone up. They know they're home. Simpson, it's high. It's good. It's a great goal to Simpson.
Creswell's run himself ragged. Rue still trying. Kickett against the flow. Rock has been so good all day. McKernan, so strong and powerful. Kicks it forward to Shoal. Inventive there, Shoal. Goes for goal. Inside the 10. Could carry it. No, it's fairly coming down. And could he just top this off with the last goal of the Centenary Grand Final? He celebrates as well. There's icing on every cake today.
One by Stafford. Pushed down towards Chapman. Couldn't pick it up cleanly. Sock it up the ground. There it is. North are champions.
The winner of the Norm Smith Medal in 1996 is Glenn Archer of North Melbourne.
Monday's experts will see what I mean. Monday's experts, yeah. Monday's experts.
This has been a 7 Sports production.